Hey everyone, it's Maya. Long time no talk. And I've been toying with making this video for the past week. I've been so busy. This video is super informal, but it's very important. I have to get it off my chest and talk about it. So I watched the interview with Young Dro and T.I. on the Breakfast Club. And in that video, honestly, in that interview, he made me look at him in a whole different light. I have a whole new respect for him. And I'm gonna be honest, I'm not a whole like Young Dro like fan. I can't name you but 2 songs. And that's not to say that I don't know any other songs. If they play, I may know them, but all I know off the top of my head is Shoulder Lean, which I actually still listen to. And I like but for real, on a serious note, I'm gonna be honest with you, the only reason I watched the video or knew about it, because I don't watch the Breakfast Club, that's a separate video, but I wouldn't have known he was on there until he went viral because he had to check one of his homeboys in the back for laughing and kikiing during a serious talk. So in the interview, because I'm sure at this point it's been like about a week, so I'm sure people who have known about it know about it. He talked about something so serious, y'all. He talked about his issues with like drug use and how he overdosed a couple times, and T.I.'s son even had to like do CPR on him and saved his life that time. And he talked about like even the shame, like once he was in his heavily addictive state, he'll be in the studio and he can't perform the way he needed to in the studio. You know, he didn't want to show up anymore. He kind of wanted to hide his face. And I mean, you know, T.I. has his own issues, but you know, T.I. was kind of like trying to be a friend to him and was trying to keep him involved in the arts and keep him working and stuff. And Young Dro kind of isolated himself because of the shame. And it just made me think to myself, like, Black men and their mental health, and even being able to speak about that is so, like, I don't know, limited because of just the stigma around like talking about trauma, talking about the fact that maybe things that happened in your childhood are still impacting you, and having to be a tough guy, and you know, all these things. And you know, I wasn't gonna, because I've been so busy, I wasn't gonna make this video because it's like things get hot. I don't want to say hot because this is a serious thing, but it's like he went viral because he had to check the guy and then it kind of fizzles out. But this is not about necessarily that video. It's about him, because I want to say, before I even get in my commentary, thank you, Young Dro. Like I said, I don't like follow you closely. I'm from the Northeast. So I know you're probably hot in Atlanta. Atlanta has its own subculture. If you ain't from there, there's going to be a lot of things you don't know about. But I respect you coming on here, being vulnerable to millions of people under various levels of scrutiny to say, I went through this. I reached a low point. I needed help. I'm sober now. I'm a work in progress. I'm not perfect, but I'm going to try to get out here and speak to these youth. Speak to these people who are struggling with the same addiction. We just lost Rich Homie Quan. Rest in peace, Rich Homie Quan. Loved his music. Don't know him personally. Loved his music, right? And it needs to be a wake-up call, because it's not just these rappers. I feel like there's a stigma where you have like rappers, they do drugs and it's like, oh, that's just the culture. No, there's people out here with they have a name, but they're not big names. So they like don't have a name, and they're suffering in silence, and they're struggling with mental health. Even like the Black men I know, I'm the only child. I have an active Black dad. I have active, you know, Black uncles, cousins who are Black men who are older than me that I saw as a little girl. And even my partner, you know, they held a lot on their back. And I'm 28 now, and I look back and I'm like, you know, man, like, because I'm going through my own adult issues, and I'm like, man, you know, if I went through what they went through, I don't know, you know, what I would do. And these men don't get an outlet to discuss. They don't get an outlet to say, like, even as Black women, we have our struggles, and that's a separate video, and I'm more than happy to discuss that because we go through our limiting factors as well. But I just want to talk about, you know, Young Dro's interview and how it relates to Black men, and as a Black woman who loves Black men and is with a Black man, you know, what this means. When he was speaking about his struggle, you could tell he was very nervous. You could tell this was something that he wanted to do, but it was reticent, right? So it kind of reminds me of somebody that needs, I don't know how to explain it, but if you've been in a situation, you know what I'm trying to say. They want to talk, but they might need encouragement, right? So they might need the whole room to be silent. They might not make eye contact with you. They may, just things that like they want to get off their chest, but there's certain pressures that come with getting it off their chest. You could tell this was very delicate for him to discuss. And you have this knucklehead in the background like laughing. And I'm gonna be real with you, because the guy said later on that he wasn't laughing about what Young Dro was saying. He was laughing about something else. They were laughing about different things in the beginning. And I'll be honest, I don't know, but the Breakfast Club does provide shots sometimes. And I don't know if they gave shots. I don't know that. But the guy could have been tipsy. He could have been high. Like, people smoke weed, wake and bake. And he seemed a little bit like to turn, you know what I mean? Like, he's not the star of the show. He's on the Breakfast Club, but he's there because T.I. and Young Dro are there. And sometimes people just get too excited. Like, I feel like he was just excited to be in a room that he more than likely wouldn't have been on his own. I don't know him at all. So I'm not saying he's a nobody, but I'm just saying he, in my eyes, wouldn't have been in that room without Young Dro and T.I. And so I think he probably got a little too excited, too loose, and decided to just, be giddy and laugh. I also believe, because Charlamagne was, making jokes, I believe that he probably did want a little bit of attention, laughing and kind of getting Charlamagne to be like, what's good with this guy? Because they did say that in the beginning. Like, Charlamagne's like, why are you laughing? Like, and they're kind of laughing, and T.I. was laughing a little bit too. But then, when Young Dro tried to continue and he started speaking about his daughter and the guy was still giggling, Young Dro did what he knew best, and he checked the dude. And the thing about it is, he could have said, hey, man, I'm talking about my daughter right now. Can you chill out? And, maybe dude would have been like, oh, I'm sorry, man. I wasn't even laughing about that. I'm sorry, bro. I was laughing about something else. But Young Dro, what he come from, what he been through, and I know because I'm from the hood, we get protective and we get defensive and we do things that we know best to do. You are getting disrespectful, we gonna slap you. And I'm not saying that's right. I'm not condoning violence. I hate to see black men fight. I hate to see black people fight. I hate to see anybody fight. But I think he did that because that's what he knew best. Because some people are like, oh, why was he saying to, slap the guy? Then the dude, in that moment, I'm not stupid. I could tell when somebody's a little shaken up. Oh, you ain't gonna slap me now. You ain't gonna slap. He was embarrassed. You know what I'm saying? And he had to respond with the aggression too, to be like, I'm not a punk. Instead of saying, Dro, I'm sorry, bro. I love you. Had nothing to do with you or your daughter. I'm sorry. I was laughing about something earlier that happened. I'm sorry. Him saying, I'm sorry, I think that would have went miles for Dro in that moment. And later on in the interview, Dro apologized to him. And while I understand, because he was like, I ain't gonna slap nobody, I understand 100% why Dro apologized on his end. Because like I said, when you come from the hood and you in that fight or flight, like I said, sometimes I even get in that fight or flight, and I'm 28. I ain't putting hands on nobody unless they literally threaten me or my family's life. I'm past the hands. And I respect that, right? It's like I said, he could have just said, hey, I'm talking about something serious, chill out. But he threatened to physically, assault him. So the other guy, being from the hood, he had to get the aggression going. He had to defend himself. I think that guy owed Dro an apology more than Dro owed him an apology. I'm just being real. And I don't know what happened behind the scenes, but I feel like that man should have said, you know what, bro, I'm sorry. But one thing I could say is, once Dro, I'm not trying to, incite violence or promote violence, but once Dro said, listen, I'll slap the out of you, dude was silent the whole interview from what I heard. I ain't hear him cackling. I ain't hear him kikiing. Even when T.I. and Dro were laughing, I ain't hear dude, unless he walked away or left, and I didn't see it, but I think I did see him in the background. So he was silent. So no offense, Dro threatening up, did what it needed to do. Now onto the black men and mental health. this is what I mean. We need to start making it comfortable to where men could come out and say, listen, I still hold childhood trauma. You know, I still hold, you know, insecurities. I still, you know, struggle with maybe how I was as a father, or, you know, just different things I wanted to do in my life. We need to start letting this be a comfortable platform. The problem I have too, and I gotta say this, is in those moments now when T.I. realized that Dro was serious, T.I. helped get the dude together. Like, hey, we brothers. Like, we came together. Like, we gotta act right. But before that, T.I. was laughing too. You know, he was, when the dude kept laughing, you know, T.I. and Charlamagne were laughing too. And so, while I think it was innocent, I don't think T.I. meant like, Dro's story is funny. No, like, he was serious about Dro's story, but I think we need to start making it heavy. We need to start making these things serious. Like, bro, there's no laughing matter when it comes to somebody's mental health. There's no laughing matter with the fact that Dro could have lost his life. He could have been in the headlines years ago as another rapper down due to drugs. It's serious. Everybody's life matters. And being where I'm from the city. I'm still living in the hood part. It's still getting gentrified. But I go to work in the morning and there's people sleeping on the steps. So there's people walking the streets because I go out, wait for the bus at 6 o'clock in the morning. It's still dark. And some of these people do come up to me and talk to me. And sometimes, you know, you got to be careful. You got to be very safe and careful because I'm a woman. I'm by myself. I'm of a decent stature, but not an intimidating stature. And, you know, my glasses, I'm professional. I feel like people do think I'm easy. But sometimes people do come to you and they'll mumble and they'll be, no offense, you could tell they're on drugs. They may be unhoused or homeless or whatever the case. And sometimes they'll tell you like, you know, I've had people, it made me want to cry. I've had people come to me like, keep doing what you do. They don't know me. They don't know where I'm going, but they see how I'm dressed. They see I got my lunch box, my bag. And they're like, keep doing what you're doing. You know, I went to school. Or I almost was going to go to school. I had a scholarship. You know, I lost my mom and I had to, you know, survive, or I fell out with drugs. And it's like, these people have a story. And it starts with sometimes, right? Everybody, some things are more extreme, but sometimes it do start with like one tragedy, one deviation from the norm. And now these people are left with, and when I say these men, and I'm going to talk about women in another video. I'm a Black woman with mental health struggles too. I respect Young Dro for coming on and talking about that because I can tell it really, really bothered him. What he went through obviously bothered him, but it was tough for him to talk about, but he did. And I pray with all my heart that somebody listened to that who needed, like we all needed to hear it, but I pray somebody who's right in the space that he was in sees this video, listens to this interview, not that, but see his interview and takes from it sobriety, strength, acknowledgement that what you went through doesn't make you weak. You can't help what family you came from, where you came from, racism, oppression. I want people to see that. And I just, like I said, when T.I. realized, you know, that Dro was serious about that guy, and, you know, I do think T.I. was trying to be serious and did take Dro's situation very seriously. I do feel like it should have never been laughed at. As soon as Dro talked about his sobriety or his drug struggles, no laughs until he initiates, right? Like once he's moved past the seriousness, then we can laugh. And I think that's the piece, you know, that needs to happen more, where men are holding men accountable and saying, bro, nah, this is serious. And excuse me, the leaf blowers going out outside. But, you know, I think for me, the other thing I want to highlight is T.I.'s son giving CPR to Young Dro. So his son witnessed overdosing, but he also was trained to give CPR. And that made me look at me like, I have an idea of CPR, but I've never been to a CPR class. I've never been CPR certified or trained. It makes me want to go and do that. And like I said, we know T.I. has a lot of things that are, you know, been said about him, and I'm not here to defend or talk. I don't know these people, but the fact, it says a lot that his kids were trained in CPR and one of them was able to administer and save a life. That is deep. That is heavy. I think social media, I think us hearing about so many, like, just people out here dying or seeing videos of things, it kind of makes people dissociate. Because I'm a millennial Gen Z cusp, born in 96, so I knew what it was like before social media, and a chunk of my life definitely post, like, social media. And I just remember, like, certain things, it was just way more weight added to it. And nowadays people just kind of like take things so simple, so easy, and it's serious. And I just hope that with this interview, people can talk about their issues more, because, you know, in this case, people are laughing and kikiing, and Dro is on, you know, a nationally syndicated show talking about something serious, like Charlamagne, Envy. Those are men who was leading the Breakfast Club show. They should, the first time, and I got issues with Charlamagne too. The first time that I do laugh, Charlamagne or Envy, as the leaders of this conversation, because this is their platform, they should have said, bro, like, you need to step out. What's good? Because even me as a teenager, as a child, you get giggles in class. Sometimes somebody do something funny, you're still kind of laughing, but the teacher's trying to move on. And I've covered my mouth. When Dro was talking about that stuff, he should have, how can I say this? That man should have seen how serious that conversation was. You shouldn't have even wanted any laughs. It's like, even if you're laughing about an old joke, I feel like in my mind, I would have been turned off, because it's something serious going on. He should have excused himself at minimum. And I hope Dro evaluates who's in his circle. But more importantly, I pray that Dro and his daughter continue to remain sober, because right now it seems like Dro is working on his projects. He kind of is, you know, making progress in his advocacy for, you know, mental health awareness and, like, sobriety. But life has multiple vicissitudes. So I hope that, you know, if they go through something tough, I hope Dro doesn't feel the need to backtrack on anything, right? Because what happens with addiction is sometimes people do become sober, but then they go through something major, and then it kind of makes them backpedal. So I pray that Dro has somebody on his side. But to Black men, this interview honestly was a huge indication of things I've even seen, where, you know, men are trying to be honest and they're getting laughed at, or they got to get defensive again and bring out the aggression. So it's like, you might not be addicted to drugs, but now you're fighting, and now you got a record because you fighting. So I'm a Black woman, I'm a woman, so I can't, you know, say too much, but I hope and pray that from this interview, what we can take away is, you know, Black men holding Black men accountable, Black men creating a safe space for at least themselves. Like, we as women, we've argued with men to give us a space to come to them or understand us, and stop just associating us with angry Black women. Because one thing I'll say, even me with my depression, like, sometimes anger doesn't mean we're angry, like, that we're trying to be mean. Irritability is a sign of depression, and sometimes even being anxious can make me irritable. So it doesn't mean I'm trying to be, you know, a B word, but it comes out that way. And so and the reason we're like that is because we go through things where we have a strong work ethic and we know how to work and we're smart, but then we go to work and we're oppressed just for being us. And even if we're professional, like, we make other people uncomfortable because we're us. And so that kind of does trickle into our relationships. And so the Black men have to work together to hold each other accountable. And I just really want to give Young Dro, like, his flowers for that. Like I said, I don't follow him closely. I don't, in the age of Diddy and in the age of, you know, Me Too, like, even though that was years ago, like, there's Me Too-ism still out here. I don't know anything about him personally, but what I will say is, for him to come on and speak on that, I pray and I hope that people impacted see this and be willing to come out and speak. It literally takes people on these podcasts, people just in their social groups. Like, I'm not saying come out and just be like, I'm depressed. You got to measure your exposure, right? Like, you can't trust everybody with your vulnerability, but making it more widespread to be like, bro, if you're depressed, that's sad, it's not okay, but it's normal, and come out and talk about it. Because depression with men, we talk about Black women being angry, that's a symptom of depression a lot of times. High stress, fight or flight, no chance to be soft, no chance to, I don't want to say be happy, but, like, you know, it's a lot of stress. We don't have time to party. And when I say party, I mean, oh yeah, like, hey, like, no, we don't have time for that sometimes. Like, we're on go, we're on survival. Like, if we don't be on 10, we ain't gonna make it. Like, same thing with men, you know, the ones who are active or the ones who do care about their families, especially in this economy. I know men where they're like, I gotta do what I gotta do, but then they're stressed, they're graying, they're pulling their head out, they're thinking of offing themselves, they're using drugs to numb themselves so they can get through the day. Like, it's just so sad. And I'm not trying to drag this video out, you know, too long, because, you know, I'm not a psychiatrist. I've never even taken a psychology class. Y'all know my background is engineering, STEM, so I'm not trying to, you know, provide any mental health commentary or psychology commentary. I really hope that his interview can at least make it, I don't want to say cool, but make it cool. Make it cool to talk about these issues, because literally once people start coming out and saying, bro, I do feel depressed, it don't make you less than a man. It makes you more manly to come out and say, bro, I'm still doing what I gotta do. I'm gonna still make it happen, whatever I need to do. But I am depressed. I am stressed. I am in fight or flight. I do have anxiety. That's why sometimes I, you know, run the fight. But when I go out here and I see young men who look otherwise maybe handsome, or maybe, you know, their lifestyle has caught up to them, but they still, you know, you could just tell when people were something. I mean, we're all somebody, right? But I'm just like, they're on drugs, they're unhoused, they're talking to themselves, they're getting on the bus or the train and they're just listening to them. Like, you could just tell, like, they're not who they were, but they were something. And I'm just like, that's mental health. It doesn't matter how strong you are, how good you look, clothes on your body, your mind, what they say, a mind is a terrible thing to waste. We really need more mental health advocacy. And like I said, as somebody who struggles with it, I see it so much. And as somebody who's partnered with a Black man, the child of a Black man, the niece, the cousin of a Black man, I encourage people to listen to that interview if you haven't. I mean, I'm sharing it with men that I know, like, and drugs are just, you know, drugs are just not the answer, right? Like, drugs are just not the answer. It's a killer. So, I mean, I don't want to drag this out too long. I just really had to come on here and just emphasize, like, that whole little interaction there really epitomized the dynamic. Because instead of being soft and saying, hey, I'm sorry, I wasn't laughing at you and your daughter, he had to clap back with aggression to prove that he was tough. And that's something I see all the time. And in their case, Dro apologized. They were hopefully able to move forward. A lot of times it ends in death, because two Black men, one may have checked the other, but the other couldn't take being checked. I'm gonna pop you, I'm gonna kill you, I'm gonna shoot you, I'm gonna stab you, I'm gonna jump you. And we have people here who ain't here anymore because of just ego. And I just hope that changes. I really do. And I mean, you know, the work is a community effort, and that's it, you know. And I love y'all for watching. If you made it to this point, let me know what you think. I feel like there may be other things I could say on this and I'm just missing it, but that was really, you know, that was really it. I want to thank Young Dro for that interview. You know, like I said, I got certain things I could say about T.I., but in that moment, I do appreciate him stepping in and saying, you're sober, Dro, now, and getting that dude in check. And I want to also kind of mention with the Breakfast Club, maybe moving forward, you should only have managers and relevant guests in the studio with you. Those other guys could have waited in the waiting room, maybe some water, some light, I don't know, shots, whatever, to keep them, you know, cool. But, you know, moving forward, because think about it, if Dro had got up and actually slapped him, there would have been a fight, you know, in there. I think Dro didn't want to slap him, but I think Dro was just in a vulnerable state. And when you're in a vulnerable state, you know, I don't want to compare Black men to animals, so I don't want to make that connection. But it is like an animal where they're already scared and you try to go pet them and they swipe you. Maybe they would have been okay with the pet, but wrong timing, wrong approach. So I think that I'm glad they didn't fight. I think that man owes Dro an apology. But I appreciate and respect Dro for sharing his story and giving the man an apology. So let me know what you think. Take care of your mental health. Create, as a black woman, before I leave, I just want to say, and I'm not trying to sound like a pick me, right? Like, because I don't give my energy to people unless they deserve it. But if you do have a good black man in your life, whether it's a father, a partner, an uncle, a cousin, a brother, I don't have siblings, but a brother, also create an environment for them to feel comfortable, confident, and safe too, you know, so that they could come to you, right? It doesn't have to be on a podcast. It doesn't have to be to the magnitude Dro did. It doesn't have to be an organization. You know, create that environment, because these men, it's like they're weak or they're not a man because they're not talking about their feelings, but they need to. It doesn't matter how big, strong, handsome, good at their job they are. If their mind goes crazy, we lose them. So be blessed. Have a great week. It's a Monday, October 21st. Take care. Peace.